There exists a level of mental and physical discipline so powerful that it makes a person seem untouchable. And today, you'll discover how one man reached that state over 4 centuries ago, and how you can walk the same path. Have you ever met someone who simply doesn't break? Someone who faces chaos without hesitation, who refuses to back down, who never bargains with weakness? While others invent excuses to justify their failures, while many give up at the first obstacle, this kind of person endures. And what do people usually say? He's just lucky. She was born with it. He had connections. But what most refuse to accept is that there's always a cost. Few are willing to pay that price, yet they still envy those who've fought on the battlefield of discipline. There once lived a man in Japan during the height of the Tokugawa era. His name was Hayato Renshin. This man fought over 60 duels in his lifetime, beginning at just 13, and he never lost a single one. He wasn't the strongest nor the fastest, but he built something far greater, a mind that never wavered and a body that refused to collapse. Before his death, he recorded his philosophy in a manuscript known as the Scroll of 5 Paths. Within its pages lies the blueprint for transforming both body and mind into a force people cannot comprehend, a strength that makes others whisper, "How is that even possible?" But there's a truth most people miss. Renshin's method wasn't about motivation. It was about removal. He didn't become powerful by adding things to his life. He became powerful by cutting away everything that weakened him. Before we go deeper into his system, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share in the comments. What's your greatest weakness that you wish to eliminate? Your journey starts right now. Chapter 1. The Awakening. The story I'll tell you today begins with a man named Daichi, an engineer, 32 years old, married, with 2 children. A normal man, a normal life. Ordinary struggles. But Daichi carried a unique weakness. He lacked inner strength, not just in muscle, but in mind. Every morning, he promised himself he'd work out. He bought a gym membership 3 times and cancelled all 3. He started a diet on Monday and broke it by Wednesday. He swore he'd wake up early, but hit the snooze button again and again. Strong intentions, weak execution. At work, when challenges rose, Daichi froze. When conflicts appeared at home, he avoided them. When his children needed discipline or guidance, he let his wife handle it. He wasn't living, he was reacting. Life controlled him, not the other way around. Then came the breaking point. During an important meeting, Daichi had his first panic attack. His heart pounded violently. Sweat dripped from his palms and the room began to tilt. He stumbled out, humiliated. The doctor ran tests, all normal. The diagnosis: stress, anxiety, and mental fragility. Then the doctor said something that changed everything. Your body reacts to danger that doesn't exist. Your mind can't tell the difference between discomfort and threat. You must train your nervous system. Those words echoed. Train the mind. Daichi went home and began researching how to build mental strength. That's when he found Hayato Renshin, the legendary warrior philosopher from the Tokugawa era. And soon, he realized Renshin didn't write a book of motivation. He wrote a manual of war for the human spirit. Chapter 2. The Principle of Elimination. The first passage Daichi read from the Scroll of 5 Paths puzzled him. Have no preferences, depend on nothing. It seemed contradictory, How could someone master a skill without attachment? How could strength exist without preference? But as Daichi read deeper, the meaning became clear. Renshin taught that true strength doesn't depend on perfect conditions. If you can only train when the environment is ideal, you are weak. If you can only focus when you're rested, you are weak. If you can only meditate when it's silent, you are weak. Real strength is the ability to perform in any situation. Renshin practiced with every weapon: wooden swords, steel blades, one sword, two swords, or none at all. He trained under the burning sun and in freezing rain. Why? Because the enemy never waits for you to be ready. Daichi realized he was the opposite. He could only concentrate at the office. He could only exercise after a good night's sleep. He could only eat healthy when his wife prepared his meals. His discipline was fragile, built entirely on external comfort. So he decided to follow Renshin's rule: remove dependency. It began with something simple: push-ups. No gym, no special schedule, no equipment. Just his body and the ground. He committed to 20 push-ups every day, anytime, anywhere, any condition. The first week was easy. The second week, his muscles ached. The third week, he traveled for work. The fourth, he got sick. And this was where he had always quit before. But this time, he remembered the principle. Practice continues regardless of circumstance. Sick? Do 10 push-ups. Tired? Do 5. Traveling? Do them on the hotel floor, but never 0. Chapter 3. Hiyoshin, the still mind. By day 40, Daichi was stronger physically, but mentally, he was still storming inside. Anxiety about work, worries about bills, fear of disappointing his family. He was improving outwardly, but collapsing inwardly. Then he discovered Renshin's highest teaching: Hiyoshin, the unmoving mind. Renshin wrote, "At the moment of battle, your mind should be as calm as when drinking tea. No fear, no excitement, only presence." Daichi wondered, how can a man stay calm when death is inches away? The answer was both harsh and liberating. You don't suppress fear. You train yourself not to react to it. Daichi began testing this in daily life. Whenever anxiety rose, traffic, arguments, work tension, he took a slow breath and watched the feeling without reacting. My heart is racing. My palms are sweating. My jaw is tight. Just observation, no judgment, no escape. At first it felt unbearable. His instinct screamed to fight or flee, but each time he endured, the storm grew weaker. The first real test came during another meeting. His boss exploded, yelling in front of everyone. Old Daichi would have frozen, stuttered, maybe apologized unnecessarily. But this time, he felt the fear rise, recognized it, and continued speaking. His voice stayed steady. His hands were calm. The room fell silent. The boss blinked, confused. The team looked shocked. But Daichi knew what had happened. For the first time, he had accessed Hiyoshin, the mind that doesn't move. Modern science later proved this truth. A neuroscientist from Stanford, who has studied emotional regulation for nearly 2 decades, explains, when you practice observing emotion without reaction, your brain literally rewires itself. The amygdala's reactivity decreases. What once triggered panic now only triggers awareness. And that's when Daichi realized Mental strength isn't built through control. It's built through non-reaction, through the quiet power of a mind that no longer runs from fear, but simply watches it until fear itself fades away. Chapter 4. Seni no Ai, the way of the warrior. Renshin understood that a calm mind without a capable body is an illusion. You can master your emotions, but if the body fails under pressure, control means nothing. He once wrote, "Train hard with wooden swords to strengthen the body. When the body is weak, the mind trembles. When the body is strong, the mind stands firm." Daichi had been training for 60 days, daily push-ups, small wins stacking. He was stronger, yes, but he hadn't yet faced true physical exhaustion. Renshin never trained in comfort. He trained at the edge, and then beyond. So Daichi made a vow that sounded almost impossible: 100 push-ups a day for 30 days. No matter how long it took, no matter how many pauses he needed, he would finish them all. Day 1 took 45 minutes. Day 5, his arms trembled with pain. Day 10, his wife warned, "You're overdoing it." Day 15, he completed them in 20 minutes. By day 30, he did all 100 in just 12 minutes, without stopping once. But what changed wasn't just his body, it was his mind. When you prove you can do what once felt impossible, difficulty loses its power. You stop thinking about effort, and you simply do it. Renshin called this Seni no Ai, the way of the warrior. It's not about natural talent. It's about erasing the belief that something can't be done through discipline. To train until the impossible becomes inevitable. Chapter 5. Zanshin, the mind that remains. Daichi had built strength and calm, but Renshin taught that greatness required one more quality: Zanshin, meaning the mind that remains. It doesn't mean being tense or paranoid. It means staying aware, fully conscious, never disconnected. Renshin wrote about warriors who would win a duel, then celebrate too soon, only to be struck down by a final counterattack. He said, "The battle is not over when the enemy falls. It ends only when you are truly safe." Zanshin is awareness that lingers after the action, a consciousness that doesn't fade until the lesson is complete. Daichi realized he lived the opposite way. He'd finish a project and immediately relax completely. He'd reach a goal and stop pushing forward. He'd solve one problem and ignore the signs of the next. So he decided to train Zanshin in his everyday life. After push-ups, instead of collapsing, he would stand upright for 30 seconds, breathing, fully present. After tough meetings, instead of scrolling his phone, he would sit quietly for a minute and process what happened. It seemed small, but it changed everything. Because when you maintain awareness after the action, the mind integrates the lesson. When you switch off instantly, the learning disappears. By day 90, something inside Daichi had transformed. People at work noticed first. "You seem different, man. More focused. Unshakable." Even his wife asked, "What happened to you?" "You're not the same." And she was right. He wasn't. He was awake in a way he had never been before. Chapter 6. Fushin, the unmoved mind. The real test came on day 105. Daichi was called into an emergency meeting. The company was downsizing. His position was being cut. In the past, this would have destroyed him. His heart would race. Panic would take over, his mind spinning with fear. But this time, something else happened. He felt the shock, observed it, and then Silence. His mind didn't spiral. His body didn't tense. He simply stayed present. He asked calmly, "What's the schedule?" The boss sighed. "You have 30 days. "I'm sorry, Daichi." He nodded. "Understood." "Thank you." He returned to his desk and resumed his work. Others who were laid off were calling home, panicking, crying, frozen by fear. But Daichi stayed still, not because he didn't care, but because he had developed Fushin, the still mind. Renshin wrote, "The tree is calm not because there is no wind, but because its roots are deep." Daichi's roots had grown deep. 105 days of consistent discipline, non-reactive awareness, and unwavering focus. When the storm came, he didn't break, because he had already faced 1,000 smaller ones. While others drowned in anxiety, Daichi acted. He updated his resume, reconnected with mentors, and started interviewing. Within 23 days, he had 3 offers, and chose the best one. His new job paid 40% more than the last. Those who panicked? Many were still unemployed 3 months later. A sports psychologist who has trained Olympic athletes for 15 years once said, "The difference between those who thrive under pressure and those who crumble isn't talent. It's the amount of time they've spent deliberately training their discomfort." Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you forge, repetition by repetition. Chapter 7. Hyoho, the strategy of the void. Renshin's final lesson was the most difficult to grasp, yet the most powerful to live by. He called it Hyoho, the strategy of emptiness. He wrote, "In battle, do not intend to win, intend not to lose." At first, it sounds the same, but it isn't. When you fight to win, you overreach. You push too hard. You expose your weak spots. But when you fight not to lose, you stay whole, composed, efficient, and alert. Daichi began applying this to his new job. Instead of trying to impress everyone, he focused on not making mistakes. He arrived on time, delivered what he promised. He avoided gossip, didn't overpromise, and built a reputation for quiet reliability. After 3 months, he was promoted. His boss said, "You're not the flashiest, but you're the most consistent." And consistency beats brilliance. That's Hyoho. You don't need to be extraordinary. You just need no weaknesses. Renshin never lost a duel, not because he was faster, but because he never left an opening. He studied his opponent, waited for a single mistake, and struck with precision. Absolute efficiency, 0 waste. Daichi applied that same principle to his entire life. He didn't try to eat perfectly. He simply stopped eating junk. He didn't try to break records. He simply never missed a day. He didn't try to be the perfect husband. He simply never broke his word. No weaknesses, no loopholes, no excuses. That was Hyoho, the quiet perfection of a disciplined life. Chapter 8. Suti, letting go of the self. 6 months into his journey, Daichi was unrecognizable, physically stronger, mentally unbreakable, emotionally steady. But one final barrier remained. He still carried fear. Not fear of failure or the world, but a silent fear within. Fear that if he stopped for a single day, everything he'd built would collapse. Fear that his strength was temporary. That's when he encountered Renshin's final concept, Suti, the abandonment of self. Renshin wrote these words shortly before his death. "I regret nothing. I fear nothing. I desire nothing. How does a person reach that state? How do you completely let go of fear? Renshin's answer was radical. Detach from outcomes. You are not your victories. You are not your failures. You are the practice itself. Daichi decided to test this. He stopped counting training days. He stopped celebrating milestones. He deleted his progress posts from social media. No external validation. No streaks to protect. The training continued. The meditation continued. The discipline continued. But now without ego, without applause, without fear of losing what he'd built. He finally understood. You cannot lose what you are. You can only lose what you own. If your strength depends on maintaining a streak, you'll fear the break. But if your strength is who you've become, nothing can be taken away. And then something unexpected happened. People started avoiding him, not because he was arrogant or harsh, but because his presence was unsettling. When you remove fear, hesitation, and the hunger for validation, you become a mirror. Others see in you everything they've been avoiding in themselves, and it hurts. Co-workers stopped complaining around him. Friends stopped joking about the gym. Even his family said, "You're getting too serious." But Daichi realized the truth. Their discomfort wasn't about him. It was about the parts of themselves they still refused to face. Chapter 9. The Complete Transformation. 1 year after beginning, Daichi was no longer the same man. Not because he'd gained new traits, but because he'd shed everything unnecessary. He was no longer someone trying to be disciplined. He had become someone incapable of being undisciplined. Practice wasn't something he did, it was something he was. Renshin called this state Kenzen Ichi, the sword and Zen as one. There is no separation between who you are and what you do. You don't meditate, you are meditation. You don't train, you are training. When people asked, "How do you have so much discipline?" Daichi smiled and said, "I don't. I just removed the parts of me that wanted to quit." That's what Renshin taught. Mental and physical strength isn't about adding. It's about removing everything that blocks your true nature. You don't need motivation to breathe. You don't force your heartbeat. Why? Because these things are essential to your existence. When discipline and practice become as natural as breathing, you've reached that terrifying level. The level where people look at you and whisper, "That's not human." And in a sense, they're right. It's not normal human. It's realized human potential. Hayato Renshin died at 62, alone in a cave, still writing. No wealth, no followers, no titles. But he possessed something no one could steal, absolute command over himself. His final words, "I regret nothing." How many people can say the same? How many reach the end knowing they lived at the limits of their capacity? How many eliminate fear, hesitation, and weakness completely? The question isn't how Renshin did it. The question is, why aren't you doing it? You have access to the same teachings. You have the same hours in the day, the same human body, the same potential. The difference isn't ability. It's willingness. The willingness to remove dependency. The willingness to practice until practice becomes identity. The willingness to abandon everything that isn't essential. This level of mental and physical mastery isn't unreachable. It's just uncomfortable. Most people choose comfort over capability. But you, if you've watched this far, you're not most people. You've already proven that. So the only question left is, what will you do with this knowledge? If this story resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like. Tell me in the comments, what's the first dependency you'll cut off? What's the first weakness you'll transform? Remember, strength that unsettles others is the only strength worth having. If you've reached this point, thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next video.